After losing all but one of 15 Super Tuesday races, Nikki Haley is dropping out with, quote, no regrets and no endorsement for the presumptive nominee.
It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him.
On the other side, President Joe Biden swept the race for delegates, though thousands of voters in a handful of states, including nearly 10% right here in Massachusetts, chose no preference or uncommitted. That's instead largely in protest of his support for Israel amid their war in Gaza and the ongoing humanitarian crisis there. So what does this all mean for the general election? I'm joined now by Jaquetta Van Zandt, host of the podcast Politics and Prosecco, as well as Jennifer Nassour, chair of Nikki Haley's campaign in Massachusetts. Thank you both for being with me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
I mean, Jennifer, I guess I have to ask you the question. You know, Nikki Haley said that she was going to stay in the race no matter what, and now she's dropped out. I mean, what happened there?
Well, I mean, so I said from the very beginning, you know, it depends on where your donors and your volunteers and your supporters are. And as soon as you know that the money is going to dry up, there's no sense in going forward. She's not Donald Trump. She has doesn't want to get into debt and be bankrupt and take people's money and use it for lawsuits. So she decided that she was going to call it quits. I mean, at the end of the day, us supporters were there with her no matter what she was going to do. We've had conversations about this. But, you know, I think she made the right decision for her and for her staff. And I think it was the most prudent thing. I will say that she exited the race the same way that she started and the same way she conducted herself the whole time. She did it with class, with integrity, with grit and grace. And I think that that's something that we should all look up to and respect.
Nikki Haley, she came and stumped in Massachusetts, which is something that Republican candidates don't necessarily do. What was the strategy there?
So she did 8,600 miles in about 10 days. That's really remarkable. She hit every single Super Tuesday state, having rallies of over 1,000 people. We had over 1,000 people in Needham last Saturday night, which was really phenomenal. We had a fundraiser, a room full of new donors. I mean, there was energy. And so, listen, here's what I'm going to point out. Nearly 40% of voters in Massachusetts voted for Nikki Haley. They did not vote for Donald Trump. And so this isn't a mandate that Donald Trump is the overwhelming favorite on the Republican side. And remember, that is almost 40% of a Republican primary, which Republicans in the state are like 400,000 people. So that isn't truly a huge mandate for Trump.
Jax, you know, some folks were talking about Nikki Haley and her coming to Massachusetts, but I think a lot of folks said that Trump had it wrapped up here anyway in terms of the Republicans.
Yeah, I think he's had a history here. He has a lot of people who are supporting him somewhere out in the more rural parts of the state. But, you know, listen, for me, I agree with Jen. Nikki's a smart lady. And if it were a match against her and Joe Biden, I think she'd actually win against Joe Biden. The people aren't necessarily looking for the alternative. They're looking for the new. You know, we hear a lot of people copping out about age or, you know, his mental state. But, you know, we have a history in this country of putting old men in office. So I think, you know, the Republican Party and the Democrats really honed in on that and used it against her. And I think she just couldn't rise above it.
I also want to talk about, we had a rising number of folks actually vote in the no preference category. And I'm thoughtful if that was something that you were thinking of as ahead of today and during this race, and like what that was going to happen in Massachusetts, Jennifer.
Sure. Once you saw it happen in Michigan,
yeah,
it kind of set off some warning bells that there was something going on. And I think Jaquetta hit it perfectly on the head. Right, 70% of Americans said that they don't want to see another Trump or Biden showdown. 60% of Americans believe that these two men are too old. And so, you know, what Nikki Haley was giving was something new. On the Democratic side, unfortunately, you know, I think both the DNC and the RNC are playing a dangerous game with democracy by not allowing and encouraging newer and different candidates to come out and really have a healthy debate, because civil discourse is what this country was built on, and it's what we should see going forward.
Jax, do you think the no preference sort of movement, we'll call it, will have a significant factor in the general?
No, because don't forget, Crystal, we are a 10-day nation of things. Remember, we had the Tea Party, and then we had the BLM movement, and then we had, I forget the name of the group that was like against Wall Street. We love to do things for about 10 minutes, and we're all active, for about 5 seconds of that. I don't think it's going to move. What I do think, though, is that both parties right now should think that this is a very dangerous precedent to set by having a category like that. Because what it tells people is it's okay for you to be not engaged in the voting process or not to pick a party when you absolutely need to be thinking about policies and where those may lie, whatever party that you choose. I think it's a very dangerous precedent.
Yeah, definitely. I want to talk about, as we split up the voters and we're walking into the general election, we have some data. According to the New York Times, a Siena poll there released this weekend, the former president's support among black voters, we're talking about Trump here, is now 23%, marking a 19% point increase since the same poll was taken in October of 2020. Jax, I'm going to ask you, we have this conversation around black voters every election cycle. Why this spike or why do you think there's this spike that we're seeing, at least in this poll?
So I think black voters are just very disheartened by the Democratic Party. But also what I think a lot of people don't talk about is, as a community, we are very conservative in our values. And, we see that in the black church. We see that in black communities. And so it's something that people just think, they're all liberals. And we are. Black folks were progressive long before it was a thing. So I think that there's a movement to say, hey, what the Democratic Party has been talking for the past 30 years is not really moving the needle forward for us. Or at least I don't see any tangible results right away. And so they lean more towards a conservative party. But the backlash of that is going to be is those don't align with social justice ideas, which is where black folks always, where the rubber meets the road.
I'm sure these demographics and trends in them were something that you were watching closely. Nikki Haley was very out in the open about her Indian heritage and being an alternative to, the old white man in the White House.
Yeah, I mean, she's a woman, she's a she, and she's a woman of color, right? And so I think that those are, and, being 52 years old, she's young, which is amazing, right, to say that. But that's why she was offering that new generation of leadership, of a woman who understood what it was like to grow up as a brown girl in a black and white world, right? And her story and her family story of really grinding and moving ahead. Stories like so many of us have had and our families have had, and coming above all of that and getting into the position that she's in being a legislator and a governor and a UN ambassador and the first female Republican to win a state and win D.C. I mean, that was remarkable in the Republican history. And I think going back to what Jaquetta was saying, it's not just a Democratic Party issue with black voters. It's a Republican Party issue with female voters. Because just like the Democratic Party is not speaking to people of color anymore, the Republican Party is totally not speaking to women anymore.
Do you think...
I just want to add really quickly, because I think what Jen said is so crucial, where I think Nikki Haley could have improved a little bit in her messaging is actually talking about being a person of color. See, the problem that we see or that we judge from, meaning the black community, is you can't become a person of color once you start running for office. She didn't necessarily live her life in those social justice circles and saying I'm a person of color. She talked about her struggles and we can all relate, just as Jen said. But I think for her is, when you're talking about being a woman of color and you're talking to other women of color, we want to know that you live that life all of your life, not just because I don't get to take off my complexion. I don't get to play, passing. And I wouldn't. But I think that was I think that messaging was missed with her, and it really could have helped her with women of color.
Mm-hmm. My other thought is, Nikki Haley said that she would not throw her support around Donald Trump if he came knocking and offered her a position in his administration or to run for VP. Would she take it?
I don't think so. I think so much damage has been done. I know that for all of us who have worked on the campaign, he has said a lot of things that were really upsetting to us. I mean, if you donate to Nikki Haley, you're barred permanently from MAGA. Last time I checked, there are two parties in this country, Republican and Democrat. I don't know what the heck MAGA is, but it is not a party. It is a cult. And so he can say that, but it alienates us. When he called Mazi Philip a foolish woman, I mean, again, a woman of color, a woman with the credentials that she has, a foolish woman, that's offensive to all of us. And so I think every time he opens his mouth, he turns a lot of us off. And if we are serious Nikki supporters, I don't know what she's going to do. I know she believes in this country. I know she wants to fix this country. So I'm never going to say never, ever. But I think it would be a very hard pill for her to swallow.
She should call Stacey Abrams and take a page out of the Stacey Abrams book. Hey, I lost the election, but I'm going to win the war. So I think that's what she should do. Go out and recruit more Republican women to run for office on the local level, turn those bases red so that when she is ready to run, if she runs again, she's got a base.
Jaquetta Van Zandt, Jennifer Nassour, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.